Well, welcome back to the Gold and Alternative Investment Show. My name is Kerry Stevenson, serial entrepreneur, real estate investor, and as most of you know, a complete gold nerd. But I also love to introduce my community to people who I think are really interesting, that are doing things to help us navigate this incredibly interesting world that we now live in. And I'm not just talking about COVID-19, COVID-20, whatever we want to call it. I'm actually talking about low interest rate environments, an environment where government stimulus is just printing money hand over fist, and what you listening to this can do with your money. How do you best protect and grow your wealth? So today I'm talking with my good friend JinDao Tai. He is the founder and managing director of forexbriefcase.com. And why am I talking to him? Well, Jin and I met at an entrepreneurs summit late last year, and we just got talking about income and how people can protect their income and all the different platforms. I spoke about gold and Jin spoke about foreign exchange, which I'm not very familiar with. So I'm sure that there are people out there who aren't familiar either. So I brought him on board today, all the way from Singapore, one of the busiest men I know. And he's also really smart. So based in Singapore, Jin, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kerry. Thank you. I'm very happy to be on board.
Great. Well, the reason I brought you on board today is kind of what I said in the introduction. People these days, you know, way back when interest rates were high, people could save up, keep their money in the bank, and get some interest, or they could invest in the share market. We're now in very challenging times where the volatility is extremely high. So I wanted to just talk about what you're doing, how that would potentially work for, and let's talk about me as an investor, why I might want to invest in the company. Now, it's called forexbriefcase.com. So let's talk about that to start with. What is forexbriefcase.com? And then we'll go into the Forex side of things, and, you know, is it, I guess, is it safe or is it risky, and what people can do?
Sure. So Forex Briefcase is a company I founded, and I operate together with 4 other partners, where we actually manage investments or manage your personal account, your personal trading account for you. So I'll be trading together with a team, trading the foreign exchange on your behalf and generating a return for you. Quite simply, that's how the whole company works. And then we only, the main aim is to make a return for you, get you a passive income, get you a cash flow that you can rely on month to month, keep risk as low as possible with a steady return.
But not knowing too much about foreign exchange, isn't that, I mean, obviously you kind of, what makes you somebody that people feel like they get a return, and isn't foreign exchange currency trading, isn't that kind of risky?
It is actually, well, if you don't know what you're doing, everything is risky, right?
Yeah.
Even trading anything it carries a risk. So what we actually do is we aim for very consistent returns. Forex Briefcase has been running for 20 months now, so we're still relatively new. It's been running for almost 2 years. We have an average of about 3% return every month. So a 3% return month on month on average for our investors, with almost 600 investors worldwide, managing about $7 million right now. So we are able to achieve that consistent return. The main thing is really not aiming for that 10, 20, 30, 50% return in a month, because that's absolutely gambling.
That's very risky.
Yeah, that's because as much as you go for that big return, you end up having to take a very big risk. So I'm trying to keep risk as low as possible with a very consistent return for our investors there.
And have you ever, is there times when you've got I guess it's a position and you think, goodness me, we've got to get, I mean, is it fairly fluid? I don't really understand how it works. And are you trading all currencies? And can investors say to you, I just want to trade the US dollar, Aussie dollar, or do you make those decisions for investors?
So it's actually meant to be a totally hands-off, passive avenue of income for investors. So they don't actually get a say in terms of which currency pairs to invest. However, I only trade on the major currency pairs. So whatever we're familiar with, you know, the Aussie, the Kiwi, the Japanese yen, the pound, British pound, the euro, the US dollar, the Canadian. And those are the main ones, main currency pairs that we trade. And a little bit of gold as well. That's why I'm really happy to be talking to you.
No, you trade gold as well.
Of
Interesting.
course, of course. This has a lot of upside coming in and a lot of volatility. So, you know, with the markets, how it's been performing, you know, stock markets coming off recent tops and going through a lot of volatility. In the FX side, I think it's actually been one of the biggest beneficiary from this whole COVID situation, because currencies have been volatile, but also very tradable. You know, we haven't seen huge swings, but actually quite consistent trend following swings. So it's been quite a good couple of months actually.
So, Jin, going back, you said earlier that you've been involved, the company's been running for 20 months, so coming up 2 years. Why did you decide to do this, and what were you doing beforehand?
So beforehand, what I was doing was I trade for myself. I don't trade for people. I don't do it on behalf of anyone. I trade for myself and I teach. I teach people how to trade. I was a trading coach. And the question always came up that, hey, Jin, if you're so good at trading, why are you teaching us how to do it? You know, keep the secret all for yourself. But for trading, I feel that it's never if I teach you, I don't lose anything. You know, right. I can teach you how to make money, and as much as I teach you, we can all make money together because the market is that big. So it came to that point where I just said, okay, I'll trade for people as well, just to show that I can trade and also I can teach you how to do it as well. So it's just an additional thing to do.
Are you still teaching people how to trade as well?
I am. However, the in-person courses have not been able to run those in-person courses right now. So there is an online version coming up probably by the end of this week. I'll have an online program coming up. I'll send you the link for that as well.
Yeah, sure, and I can put that in the notes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be talking to Brent Johnson from Santiago Capital later this week. And I know he has, it's called the milkshake theory, and I won't go into the details of it, but he is very bullish on the US dollar and very bearish on the Aussie dollar. I mean, do you see that the US dollar is going to continue to suck up all the other currencies? What's your view on what's happening in the currency markets at the moment?
Actually, I like the term that you just said, suck up every other currency, right? So a lot of people have said that the US dollar is going to be bullish, it's going to outperform everyone, it's strong. How I actually see it is the US dollar is probably not strong, it's just that everyone else is weak.
Right.
In relative terms, it looks like the US dollar is becoming stronger, but it's actually more because every other country is getting weaker against the US dollar. So in the short of it, yes, US dollar too remain a little bit stronger, but it's in relative to everyone else.
And do you think with all this government stimulus that's going on, like I think there's a $3 trillion stimulus was passed last Friday in the US, does that have any sort of impact on your, I guess, trading rules and how the business is run?
Massive changes, but for the good, because as much as they print money, with the US printing money, we're going to see other countries reduce rates. So you mentioned that rates are going to be very low. We might actually get into negative interest rates coming up as well. So I think over the weekend, the UK was just talking about how they might introduce negative interest rates. And with that, we're going to see a lot more volatility in the markets. We're going to see that pressure to push currencies weaker across the board for everyone, just to stimulate trade, to stimulate imports and exports. So that race to be lower is going to be ever so important as well.
And with these rates going lower and lower, I'd like to get your take. I mean, you're sitting up there in Singapore. Firstly, how's Singapore going with the COVID virus? What's it like living up in Singapore during this crazy time that we're living in?
We're still stuck at home. But I think right now the community spread isn't too bad. We're down to single digits. I think it's down to 3 on average a day. But we have that big foreign worker community, which that spread is a couple of hundreds a day. So we're still, we can see the light, but it's still a bit of a distance away.
That doesn't affect your business though, does it? Because if you're trading, it's all online. And I guess like you and I are talking over Zoom today, you can talk to your fellow directors and make sure the business keeps going. There's been no interruption to your business, I'm assuming.
There's always an interruption. It's hard to replace. It's hard to replace that sitting face-to-face interactions that we have. However, we do make do. I do a currency call every day at 11 o'clock in Singapore. We do a lot more webinars. Now we have adapted a little bit, but I still miss going back to the office, sitting down and brainstorming together with everyone, and even meeting with clients. We meet with clients a lot, which we can't do now.
And speaking of clients, where are your clients from? You said that you had a lot of money under management at the moment, and that seems to have grown since I spoke to you last year. How do you find your clients? Are they from all over the world? Is there a particular pair that people like to trade more than another pair, for example?
We get our clients everywhere. So most of them obviously are in Singapore, big proportions in Singapore. With our events that we went to, I met you at, I've gotten clients from the UK, from Canada. My furthest client is probably in Ireland as well, in Australia. So clients are from personal networks. A lot of them are friends and family that I know or through a referral. So very few people who just Google us and find us from there. So people would go through someone who knows and has experienced the results that we've done, and then sign up and get on board.
And what are the fees, Jin? So say for example, we've got a number of investors that will be watching our interview today and thinking, well, they might dip a toe in the water. How does it actually work for investors?
So how it works is basically we get an account started up for you. You fund the account, so everything stays in your name and in your control. We don't actually hold on to your money. It's actually still in your name and your control. And I only take a fee if I make you money. So if I make a profit, if I trade and make a profit for you, we take 30% of profit.
Okay.
Nothing else. And if I don't make money, if I actually lose money, we actually have to make back to that high watermark before we start taking a fee on profit again.
Okay, so if you were to lose money, you have to get back to that original investment before you start taking any fees.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a minimum investment?
10,000 US is the minimum.
10,000 US is the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And when do does the money sits in the account? I mean, how does that work?
The money sits in the brokerage, in the trading account. And the trading account is from the brokerage who has a third-party segregated account, custodian account. So it's all separate. It's an investor's account where no one else can access it, not for operational purposes, only purely for trading.
Okay. And do you keep your overheads tight? Obviously investors are looking for how they can get a return. Do you think that they're better off I asked whether your overheads are tight. Are they better off learning how to trade through the way you can teach them, the coaching, or are they better off giving you the money and allowing the expert to do it? What's your thoughts on that? I guess it depends on your brain.
No, actually, I would actually say do both. Be greedy and do both. Right now is probably not the best time to be trading by yourself if you haven't got that experience, because markets are volatile. The opportunities are there, but not for a beginner. but it is great time to learn how to trade because it's so volatile. It's moves so much. You get so much experience if you're learning how to trade, and it's a great time to learn for when everything calms down. You can actually be making that return as well. So while I'm helping you make money, you can learn how to make money, and then you can have two streams of income that way.
Right. Okay. But why should I learn? If you could look after it for me and I'm getting a return, why should I learn? You just because I should have that skill, or?
One is a high income skill. Two, it's also because I teach you exactly how I trade. So with your investments with me, you actually understand, how I trade, the methods, the strategy that I employ. You might feel a little bit more comfortable with your money sitting there, when I'm deploying it.
And one of the things you were doing in the past, you were a fund manager, weren't you? Just can you just give our listeners a little bit of background about what you were doing before you set up Forex Briefcase?
So like I was saying, I was trading on my own. I did my studies. I studied too much. I did my master's in finance, and that didn't help me with trading at all. But the interest was always there. Traded in the stock market, traded in currencies, did a bit of commodities as well. And I really honed in onto FX because that was something that I could do. It's 24 hours all days of the week, or 5 days of the week. So it's something that I really enjoyed, and that whole trading action, making the analysis over and over again was something I really enjoyed. So I really honed in on that as a part-time, and eventually became a full-time trading for myself, and then now managing that portfolio as well.
I'm curious to know what makes somebody a good trader. Do you have to have a mind that is good mathematically or non-emotional? What makes a good trader?
Mathematics has nothing to do with good trading. That's
There you go.
the
Shows how
one
much
thing.
little I know about trading then.
Oh, that's the one thing everyone thinks. I speak to anyone and go, "I'm terrible at math. I can't trade." I'm like, "Well, I'm terrible at math, I think," right? But what I feel is the ability to be disciplined and stay with the system. Because how I actually trade, I actually have a step-by-step, 5-step system where if I answer 5 questions and then I decide whether to buy or sell or do nothing. And if you can stick to that 5 steps, that probability is going to increase multiple folds from there.
Do you have to have take your emotions away from it? Because I've heard that, in trading, you can't get emotional about it. You have to, as you just said, you have to do the 5 steps and don't deviate from that, because otherwise you could make mistakes. Would that be a fair assessment?
100%. That's also why I developed that 5 steps, because a lot of times you're going to look at the market and you're going to get emotional. The market is jumping up and you're like, oh, I need to get in right now, and it's plummeting and you're getting scared. So that 5 steps is really there to be logical and to be repeatable, so that if you want to jump into a trade, you go, wait, Jin says I have to do this 5 steps. Go through that 5 steps. It becomes less emotional, and then you make that decision whether to jump into a trade or not.
So I guess to be a good trader, you either go out there and give Jin your money, but don't put your house and your children on it, but dabble to begin with and see how it goes. Make sure that you're going to get a return, or take the emotion out and learn how to trade yourself. But don't be an emotional trader. Because Jin, I'd like your thoughts on where you think the world is going at the moment from a trading perspective, because people are looking for opportunities, and things are, as you said earlier, very, very volatile. Where do you see the market going at the moment? And do you think more people will get interested in trading? Is that where people need to start to look and upskill themselves?
Well, see, how I look at the market, I think from what I see and what I read is that we're going to see a lot more pain coming up. I feel, and that's not very good news, because we're going to see interest rates drop tremendously. We're going to see people spend less, because everyone's going to be a bit more careful. People are going to spend less. And unemployment is going to go up. Cost is going to go up because more testing, more precautions are going to happen. So we're going to come into an environment where costs are going to go up and revenue is going to drop, and that's a terrible situation for any economy. So with that, I think that a lot of people have always been interested in trading. Everyone I speak to goes, "Oh, I've always thought about trading, but never had the time." And I think that it's going to be a great time to get started, learn, practice, experience, and then don't expect to make that $1 million tomorrow. That's the main thing. Go for that accumulation every day, make a few hundred dollars over and over and over again, and then at the end of the month or end of the year, you realize that you've made percentages and percentages on your capital.
Yeah, and as Warren Buffett very wisely once said, first lesson is don't lose money. Second lesson is make sure you follow the first lesson.
Exactly.
Any final thoughts for our listeners out there?
Should we talk about gold? What do you think about gold?
Oh, what do I think about gold?
Let's talk to you about
we
gold.
can talk about gold. Everyone knows I'm a gold nerd. What do I think about gold? Well, look, currency is currency. Fiat currency is currency. It is not money. So what do I think about gold? As you know, gold for me is money. And I think that with the amount of money printing that's going on now, obviously the purchasing power of those dollars, yen, mark, whatever, you're losing purchasing power hand over fist, because it's not you're losing the value of it. There's only so much gold in the world, and people do see gold as money. So I can see the price of gold will strengthen. And I think that people shouldn't, if you don't understand it, you need to get my ebook on goldevent.com.au, download that ebook and listen to some of the people that I speak to about owning gold. What are your thoughts, Jin?
I've actually been watching gold. I was saying that if it goes past 1730, we could see $1,850 or even $1,900 for gold. So really a lot more upside for gold as everybody gets fearful in holding currencies, and fearful in terms of their purchasing powers that you've been talking about. So people are going to start investing in gold and even other commodities a lot more. I have actually been looking and been buying gold as well. So actually solid physical gold. So I've really been enjoying that process.
And who do you buy that through? Are you allowed to say who you buy that through up in Singapore?
I buy it through various sources. So I wouldn't pick on anyone in particular, but I go through the banks, different bullion depositories. So a lot of different sources where I pick up places and I just scroll through and see whichever has the lowest spread.
Very smart, very smart. I've got one final question before we wrap this up. Do you trade in the cryptocurrencies at all? And what are your thoughts on cryptocurrencies, Bitcoins, Ethereums, Moneros, all the thousands of them that are now out there?
This is where I might sound a little bit biased. I don't trade in cryptocurrencies at all. Well, I did it in the last 2 years ago for that 2 months period, but made triple the amount in 2 months. But then for me, trading in crypto is right now is still a bit of a gamble. I feel that there are no real drivers, no fundamental drivers to why prices should be higher or should be lower, and it jumps way too quickly. So I haven't really dabbled into it that much. I'm waiting for a little bit more fundamental basis on things that could drive prices higher and lower before jumping into it.
So in other words, having it more mainstream, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, having actually a more mainstream use towards crypto. So, like gold, we know that is a finite product where prices are there's a reason why prices are going higher or lower, instead of crypto where it's just rumors jumping in and then you see prices jumping up and down there.
Yeah, a bit more risky. Okay, Jin, how can people find you? What's the best way for them to connect with you if they're looking at either getting coached by you on trading, or if they want to invest in the products that you offer?
If anyone's interested, in Forex Briefcase, you can just jump onto Forex Briefcase. That's Forex Briefcase.com. You can find out a lot more information there. Drop in the contact details in the list at the bottom, and then we can get back to you. Or you can just jump onto my personal website. That's JinDao, JinDao Tai.com. It's got the list of all my companies, all my different companies in terms of coaching, investing, research as well, and also the email on how to contact me.
Fantastic. Jin, thanks you so much for your time up there in Singapore. You make sure you stay safe, and we might just do a little bit of an update later in the year, but good luck with the trading. Thanks for sharing. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are out there that are looking at opportunities, I have known Jin for a little while now. He's not a fly-by-night. He knows what he's doing. But like anything, I am not a financial advisor. Please do your own research and make sure that you understand the risks before you start to invest in anything, whether that be gold, foreign exchange, or anything else. This is just an information only conversation. Please make sure you do your own research. Until next time, thanks for chatting with us, Jin.
Thank you.